Everybody, welcome back to Whiskey and Wires. Today's episode should be called Whiskers and Wires because I am here with Amp Builder and Sausage King of Chicago, Joe Morgan.
Have you ever seen a Sausage King of Chicago? No one has.
I have not.
I think it would be probably wise from here on in for me, whenever I'm making a reservation, just to make a reservation as, what was his name?
Abe Froman.
Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Oh, man. So how are you enjoying your quarantine? That's always my first question because we're stuck in damn quarantine.
Wait a minute. Wait, what do you work for, CNN? That's my shout out to President Trump, because a Fox reporter today asked him about shutting down the pandemic response team and if he's gotten any backlash from it. And his response to the Fox reporter was that, what do you work for, CNN now? I'm going nuts, dude.
All
right. Yeah, just between you and me.
Yeah, get in closer. Nobody's listening.
So my mother-in-law, we had her in hospice. We just actually took her off because she was dying. Her brothers, we were figuring out flights for her for them to come and see her for the last time. And then one day she woke up and she said, "I'm hungry." And I started walking around again like she's normal now. Except it's almost like Pet Sematary, where the cat comes back from the dead, but it's not really the cat anymore. It's like this awful version of the cat. That's what we've got now. Like literally today. I'll read the.
You have an awful version of a mother-in-law.
You know what? Normally she's super sweet. Normally I really love her, but today was a really, really bad day. So my wife, she was being nasty to my wife. So my wife just walked out, went to our backyard and sat in the hammock. But this is a transcript from my conversation with my mother-in-law today. "Where's Pam?"
Ready.
She's in the back with the dogs. "Fuck those dogs." And then she flipped me off. And she said, Sorry, I hurt. "Did you take your pills?" "Yes." Then I go and look. "Cookie, you didn't take your pills." "I don't want any more fucking pills. I'm sorry, I hurt." I pick up the painkiller and I show it to her and I said, "This pill helps with the pain." "I know." "Oh, I know. I'm just sick of all those fucking pills." "Okay, well then I can't help you. You just have to hurt if you won't take your pain meds. Give me the fucking pill." Right? So, other than those pleasantries, like normally, all right, when you're a caregiver and like taking care of a loved one at home, we have been doing it now for almost, God, are we coming up to 3 years? And it's rough, but it's one of those things where we understood that, so we've scheduled breaks. So we have a couple of babysitters that we use that are healthcare workers that can come in and take care of her needs that she has. And so we'll get, 5 or 6 hours here and there, maybe once, twice a week. And, but because we can't have her, if she gets this, she's dead. Right?
Right.
So when we go to the mailbox, we're putting on gloves and we're wiping our mail down with alcohol before we bring it into the house.
Oh, man.
It's nuts here. It is just because, so we can't have anybody over, friends or family or anyone. We really can't going to the grocery store. We go with a mask and gloves, buy the stuff that we need, stage it in the garage, wipe everything down with Clorox and some alcohol and to get it ready to come into the house. Then the person that was at the store takes their clothes off in the garage, goes into, puts them into the washer, goes in and takes a shower, and then we bring the food in. It's nuts.
You guys are going for it over there.
We have to.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because the governor of Tennessee hasn't shut down the state. He's one of the 5 states that's still going strong.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. First-term governor, first-term politician.
Have you considered just like grabbing
A pillow
grabbing
and
a
over.
no, just yourself, just grabbing a fully charged filter cap on one of your amps with your bare hand and just saying goodbye.
I've done that enough to know that it actually won't kill me. I'd have to do something a little more drastic, like put my mouth on one end of the chassis ground and then grab like the like 450 coming in off the DC. That could probably do it. But
all right.
Voltage doesn't kill you, amperage does. You just have to get enough amps through your heart, and that's the hard part.
All right, folks. So there you go. Advice from Joe Morgan, verbatim, is go ahead and grab those charged filter caps.
Oh yeah.
Wait, is that
first time you do it, you'll remember not to do it again.
Don't do it.
It's a pretty steep learning curve.
Don't do it, folks. Don't do it. All right. So I got a question for you. I got a real question, and this is for the people that came here to listen to an amp builder talk about amps. All right, you ready? You ready? You ready?
I'm in.
I need it. I need your top 3 that you didn't build.
Easily the AC30. I mean, I have a Slush in blue and EL84 tattooed on my arm. I like the AC30. That's my jam. Right. Outside of that, I think then we go to probably a 67 small box Plexi, because that sound is rock. I mean, that really is. It's really, really, really hard to get past that. And then, I'll get into the outside of that.
You can say screw it from there. You don't need 3.
No, super reverb.
Yeah, super reverb's really good.
It's really good.
Something about that 410 that's like, I really like it. It's really satisfying to play.
Well, when I think of an AC30, I think of jangle and attacking it and like all these cool different sounds and grinding out of it. When I think of a small box Plexi, I think of the same kind of thing. This grindy rock, this like really cool, just that kind of a sound, right? Mm-hmm. And Allman Brothers, whatever. And then, but like a super reverb, dude, that Lenny tone, he's playing a vibroverb and a super and a bunch of other stuff, but just that big, rich reverb with, just the way a Strat sounds directly through a super reverb when it's like right at the edge of breakup is, I mean, it's insane. And then go listen to any of the Derek Truck stuff, right? Where he's just taking a super reverb and cranking it and playing with his fingers. It's retarded. Yeah. That is guitar.
Yeah, Derek Trucks is pretty amazing, dude. Yes. Definitely one of my favorite SG guys. Speaking of SGs, do you have like a Desert Island guitar? Either that you own currently or that you've always wanted that you just haven't pulled the trigger on?
As it's funny, as I've gotten older, I've gone through, the stuff that I could afford, and then the stuff that I really shouldn't have been able to afford, like all the super high-endy boutique stuff. And then I've kind of settled into this phase of it's such an individual feel for me that that it's really tough. I will tell you, I played a guitar at Novo Guitars here in Nashville, that Dennis Fano's new company. Right. I played one of his that I swear to God, I was so connected to it, it made me sick to my stomach, where sitting on the edge of overdrive with that guitar, you could make the cleans just like bloom into feedback. It did everything you wanted to. It played effortlessly. It felt like it felt like the neck wasn't even there in my hands. That's I'm gonna get one of those and just be like, try to be content and done. But honestly,
do you remember what model it was? Because I've played a couple of Novos and they were phenomenal,
dude.
Just phenomenal guitars.
Let me look it up.
Dennis Fano, for those of you out there who are not familiar, He was the founder of Fano Guitars, which was later taken over by Premier Builders Guild. The Fano name might still be in some third party's hands, but I'm not sure who. But Dennis now runs a company called Novo Guitars, which Joe is, I believe, currently looking up on Google.
Yeah, I am looking at the Google. Oh, it was a Cirrus. So it's like it had a Tully bridge and a P90 neck.
Okay.
And it's honest, dude, pine, one of those roasted pine bodies. Right. It was unreal. It was seriously unreal. So I'm gonna grab one of those. But I think, you know, I also want I want a good SG. I want a good Les Paul. I want a 60s. I want a 64 slab board Strat. I want a Melody Maker 60s Gibby. You know, just like a Pro Junior, even like just a couple of like. The thing that I've learned is there's no one guitar. You know what I mean? They're all different voices, and I would hate. I would never want to be trapped into like one. Like this is my deal. Yeah. Anyway, long answer.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm lately becoming a Strat guy again. I grew up kind of a Strat guy, and I've been playing my Strat an awful lot. I haven't been playing my SG that much, and I love the way that guitar sounds. But there's something about having a vibrato bar, just having a tremolo bar.
Right, one that works.
Just a little bit. I think quite honestly, most of the time it's not the bar's fault. When people have problems with their tuning, it's always the nut. They never have the nut done by a professional. If you take your guitar that's not saying into
totally do it. He's got a bitchin' set of tools.
What's that?
Just how many guys I talk to, I get a lot of emails, and it's the same thing with guitar. People that work on guitars and people that work on amps. Yeah, I took this to my tech. Well, their tech is their, friend Kyle, who's doing it out of his garage because he read a bunch of stuff online. Right. And I mean, to cut a proper nut and just like the artistry that's within that. And I've seen guys that can do it at Fender like in 2 seconds, and they're perfect. I could never. I've tried it. Yeah. Didn't work out so well.
I find like on this, for example, this is my Strat here. I'm gonna unplug it. I don't put it flat on the deck. You can see I've got some room there to pull up.
Yeah, well, because that's not
that's what you want.
Yeah, a Strat bridge wasn't designed to sit flat on the deck.
Right, and one of the tricks for people that want to set up a Strat bridge is take your tremolo arm, put enough in it to where when you hit your G string, and you pull all the way up on that bar, it'll give you a full step. It'll go there. If it'll go a full step in pitch, it'll go a half step on the neck string and the high E string, and you've got enough. There's my guitar tip for the day for people that don't know that. I learned that from Carl Verheyen, of all people, and I started setting up my Strats that way, and that bridge never goes out of tune. Never. You have I'm going to keep the Desert Island theme going here real quickly. Give me a Desert Island record from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today.
Oh, I think if I had to do that, it would be Kid A by Radiohead, probably be that album. But if I had to pick top 5, it'd be Kid A, Goo by Sonic Youth, because that album sounds new to me every time I hear it. Pearl Jam's No Code. I don't know. David Bowie's greatest hits. Is that cheating?
Not really. I think that's okay. I know a lot of people out there, a lot of musicians are like, compilations. They want to be able to get into the deep tracks, but frankly, there are some bands where the greatest hits record. It's a really good record, and that's what you want to listen to.
Yeah, so well, something that because his catalog is so diverse. You go from Spiders of Mars and all of that to the stuff he did in the '80s, where he threw Stevie on, to Tin Machine, and he was as far as an artist goes, I don't know that anybody crossed genres like he did. He's just he was a even in his death, man. I want to do death as cool as David Bowie did. And I have a great David Bowie story for you. He released an album after his death and a video, but he knew he was dying and set the whole thing up, which is insane. But I get a lot of emails, right? And I get a lot of people saying one thing or another, and it's like, whatever. So I get this really, really, really nasty email from this guy. And he sends me a picture of the back of an amplifier, and you've seen the back of my amps, that on the control plate where it says caution, no user serviceable parts, opening it up voids the warranty, yada yada yada. So I had built an amp for the guy that was doing my amp covering back in the day.
Right.
And when we were working at a shop together, it was just him and I, and we were watching the 40-year-old version for the 12th time and laughing at it. And so on his amp, I changed the type in that, and it said, caution, no user serviceable parts. Do you want to know how I know you're gay? Because even though I told you this, you're still going to open the amp up, right? So this guy sends me this 7-paragraph email about how I'm homophobic and need to get off the junior high playground and join us in the 21st century, and just goes on and on and on. And I'm getting a little bit hot under the collar, right? Because I'm like, dude, not me at all. And then, but his last paragraph, he said this: even David Bowie fucks dudes, and he's way cooler than you'll ever be. And I just lost it, dude. I laughed so hard. That was a mic drop. So at that point, I was like, dude, you win. This is the greatest thing anybody's ever sent me. So I email him back, and I'm like, hey, and I tell him the story, and I go, sorry if it offended you. I'd be more than happy to put a new backplate on that for you. It was just something that I did for the guy in the shop, and just go ahead and send it to me. I'll replace it and send it back, no charge. And the guy goes, I actually don't even play guitar. I just saw a picture of this on Reddit and assumed that all of your amps have this. I guess I should have contacted you before I blew it up. And I'm like, no harm, no foul. Thanks for the laugh. I really did appreciate the David Bowie comment.
That's fun.
So, but yeah, isn't that the greatest? That is the greatest thing I think anybody's ever emailed me.
I've had, I have nothing that touches that. I've had a couple of people email me about the naming scheme of Dave Friedman's amps, getting hot on the fact that it's called a Brown Eye, and telling me some really gnarly stuff. Oh, we'll never buy from you guys again. We're a good Christian family.
Well, okay. Good.
Right. Oh man. Hey, here's one for you. This is a hard one. This is not a hard one.
She should.
Phoebe Cates at Fast Times or Selma Hayek, Desperado?
Selma Hayek. That wasn't hard. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Huh?
Dude, that's not
I
hard.
don't know. Well, I'm glad it's not hard. We got a long show. No.
No.
That's funny. So, what do you think? What do you think's coming for tube amps? We've been riding a pretty good train for a long time. I think everybody keeps telling me for years that we're going to disappear. Tube amps are going away.
This is something people have been talking about since the 70s, honestly. And you saw a music band dip into it with the solid state stuff, and it's kind of like telling the violin that it's going to be replaced by the electric violin or some other bastardized version of something that's not wood, because the wood's not sustainable and nobody wants to use wood anymore. I have a violin plug-in in my Pro Tools that I can use. I can plug a banjo in and get violin sounds. That's how I feel about when people talk about tube amps. I think I think more and more and more you'll see larger companies try to chase like the two-note stuff and whatever kind of digital interface thing that they can make or use to make a tube amp more palatable. But I think bottom line is, like if I'm going to go out and buy a chainsaw to cut down trees in my backyard, I'm not going to get the fanciest one with an electrical cable that gives me 8 amps and rechargeable. I want a high-powered, heavy-duty gas chainsaw that'll cut through the tree without me having to screw around with it. And that's a tube amp. The tube amp is a dinosaur, but it's a dinosaur that sounds like a Stradivarius, and it's got its place in
Sure.
what we're doing.
Do you think that there's any practical possibility that will be made obsolete just by lack of availability of vacuum tubes?
Maybe, but not in our lifetimes.
That's good. That's reassuring. There is nothing that sounds as good as a tube amp. Nothing. I haven't heard it yet. I mean, you've got all of these little factors like touch sensitivity, harmonic content, all this stuff that as much as they try and as much as they advertise, they haven't been able to really nail it yet. And by they, I mean literally everybody else.
It's my favorite Tosin Abasi comment, right? It's Tosin, never in my wildest dreams, sweetest guy in the world, amazing player. And he's actually, he went to school at the Atlanta Institute of Music, and he studied with Jimmy Herring, one of my favorite players of all time. And like one of the first times we were hanging out, he was playing one of Jimmy's tunes from a solo record. And then we got to talk about that. I freaking love Tosin. He's an amazing player, not just in his style, but in any style. He can play the shit out of anything. So Tosin showing up with his fractal and trying to wrap his head around it, and he said to me, "You don't know until you know. You don't know until you've played it." Like I heard, all the clips and saw all the comments, and always figured you were like some kind of worship, fanboy amplifier and like this subset of people. Because then I plugged in and played through one, and it ruined him. It was like once he had that connection back to his guitar and his instrument, once he could hear and feel, more importantly, the sound he was playing, he just couldn't go back. And that's the thing. That is the part that I want guitar players to understand, that they need to you love your Kemper, and I've got Kemper profiles coming. You love your fractal. I don't have fractal profiles coming yet, but we'll work on it. Those are useful tools, and they serve their spot, but you should go and plug into a real tube amp. I was just over at Carter's Vintage in Nashville, and they've got some cool shit. They have some stuff that you will not see anywhere in the world. And if you're a guitar player within, a couple 100 miles of Nashville, you owe it to yourself to drive down and play the stuff that they have on their floor. They
probably have like real Dumbles and stuff, I'd imagine.
They have real Dumbles. They have a real Marshall Bluesbreaker. I don't think I've ever seen one until then. They've got like a Selmer Zodiac. Like, who's got that? Bunch of kick-ass old Fenders. Couple of used Morgans. But they have like that is a really, really useful reference place. It's like the world's best library, because the stuff that they have in there you really can't find in one place anywhere else. They're just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never been inside of that place before. Have you been to Norm's Rare Guitars here in Southern Cal?
Yeah.
Not the same amplifier collection, but the guitar collection will blow your mind. The guitar collection's insane.
Yeah. Absolutely, and Gruen in Nashville is the same way. And the prices at Gruen are reasonable. Where Norm sometimes can get a little bit out of hand, but that's LA.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to knock them, but yeah, it's high. Prices are high, But they've got guys with a lot of money that shop there, and they're willing to pay it.
Yeah,
on the doorstep of Malibu, so.
And they have a lot of experience, and I mean, you're really like, whether you're buying at Garoons or whether you're buying at Norm's, you're going to get a pedigreed guitar. You're going to get exactly what you paid for, you know. And there's something to that, as opposed to, buying a guitar from Carl's Music in Kansas. Yeah, it's a 62-ish Strat, Well, one of the screws in the pickguard was, anyway,
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Hey, what's your favorite kind of whiskey? We're drinking whiskey together.
All right, so favorite whiskey. My favorite whiskey of all time, I like bourbons. I'm not so much of a Scotch guy. If I'm drinking Scotch, Glenfiddich 18 is probably my favorite Scotch. I
love that.
That's amazing. It's like, I've described that whiskey as angels spitting into your mouth.
Gross.
Really?
Even with angels, it's a little gross. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd do that one. But I'm a bourbon guy, so I drink bourbon. And I've had, I did a trade for an AC-20 for 2 bottles of Pappy 23, 2 bottles of George T Stag, and then 2 tax stamp bottles from the 70s, where we used to have tax stamps and so these bottles hadn't been opened. One was a 1972 Cabin Still, and the other one was a bottle I don't remember the name of because it was so bad. My favorite all-time whiskey and current whiskeys that you can purchase is George T Stag. It's like 140 proof, so you have to throw an ice cube in there and let it open up. But if you take a sip of that and just let it go down the back of your throat, the amount of flavors, the amount of stuff that just happens with that whiskey is unlike any experience I've ever had with any other type of alcohol. And but the smoothest whiskey I've ever had, and the best tasting, was that 1972 Cabin Still. And when I turned 50, we opened it up at my birthday.
I bet it's probably not easy to get a hold of one of those.
Probably not, no. We probably drank the last bottle that in existence at my party. And and it was a gamble. It could have been like the other bottle, which was, took a sip and like, oh, no, this is turpentine, poured down the sink. But it was phenomenal.
No
Absolutely.
kidding.
Yeah, so George T Stag is my go-to as far as like top shelf, hard to get, spend a couple of bucks on some whiskey. Now, my daily drinker, my daily driver, my daily drinking and driver is Bullet Rye.
Okay.
You can get a 1.75 milliliter bottle for about $50. Hard to argue that. And it makes, especially if you're going to do something like an old fashioned like I'm drinking, you're going to add a little sugar to it. Yeah, it's why waste. I wouldn't do that with George T Stag. There's no way I would make an old fashioned with George T Stag.
I don't think you'd like what I'm drinking right now.
No.
This is, the Lafroig.
That is horrible.
How would you describe the Lafroig?
The Lafroig is, for all you older guys, anybody that can remember Sucrets. Imagine a Sucrets that's got it out of its packaging, and it's rolling around in the bottom of your mother's leather purse in the early 70s, along with pennies and nickels and whatever else she had in there, and a little bit of tobacco left over from like the cigarettes that she had loose in the bottom of her purse. And then you say you have a sore throat and she pops one of those bad boys into your mouth. That's Lafroig.
Bottoms up.
Is the nastiest. I'd like to meet the guy that the Scottish taster that went like, this is good whiskey. Because he's wrong. He's really, really wrong.
Something about the Islay Scotches, or Islay, I should say, they are smoky, very peaty. And they like to brag about that. But I got to say, I'm trying to enjoy this. And there are some things that are kind of enjoyable about it. Primarily like when you're done with it.
No,
it is. It really is. It really is like taking a bite out of a campfire.
Go brush your teeth. That flavor will still be there.
You might be right.
Yeah,
like that scene in I Love You, Man, after that one guy kisses him, and she's like, are you smoking? And he's like, no. He kissed me. And she's like, wow, he really got right up in there. Whatever. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now.
So I had Arberg.
What's that?
Arberg?
No.
All right, well.
Should I avoid
Arberg is a step just below Lafroig. As far as Lafroig for me is like, that's a nuclear weapon. That is shouldn't have had that to drink because now I can't taste my food. That is like, Lafroig is night over. I don't have to be around people. I'm just going to drink this, and in case dragons come, I can shoot them out of the sky. Right? Sure. Arberg is maybe not dragons, but you could slay like vampires or something with that. It's like next step down.
All right, I'll have to check it out. Let me ask you another amp question. I know you're not a fan of effects loops.
Not at all.
Right. Do you feel like multi-channel amplifiers have an impact on the feel and response versus a single channel amplifier?
Okay. Great question. 12AX7 is a triode, meaning that it has 3 elements in it. So a 12AX7 has 2 sets of 3 element sections, right? It's like 2 tubes in one. Okay. 12AX7 is what we use in almost all guitar amps today. Every guitar amplifier that you're hearing has got a 12AX7 in the front. That small box 50 watt Marshall 12AX7. That Super Reverb 12AX7. The Vox AC30 12AX7, right?
A brief aside here. What years did they use the EF86 and when did that go away?
EF86 was super early Vox. So they 59 to 61, early 61, they got rid of it because they were so microphonic. They were having issues with it, right?
Okay, back to 12AX7.
So 12AX7s are what you're going to get in an amplifier pretty much, period, right? Now think of a 12AX7 like chicken. Chicken. Whether it's a Vox, a Marshall, or Fender, we're using chicken in all 3 recipes. What happens on the back end is what determines whether it's fried, barbecued, or curried, right? So that the phase inverter into the power section, all of that stuff that's super important in those vintage amplifiers, that gives the amp its flavor. We're all using chicken. They're all being cooked with chicken, and you can I don't care what you try to do to your chicken before it gets the main event. Like, you can put salt on it 9 ways from Sunday. You can do whatever you want to do to that chicken. Chicken's chicken. But it's that back end where we're going to barbecue, fry, or curry it. And that is the huge difference. So, multi-channel amps.
I wonder if fried curried chicken would be good.
Mm-hmm. Well, Nashville hot chicken is fried hot chicken, so we're only a shade off of that.
Yeah, I like Nashville hot chicken. It's good.
I love hot chicken.
Anyway, all right, let's go. Multi-channel.
I'm sorry.
Multi-channel chicken.
So multi-channel, typically what you end up doing with multi-channel amps is you put 2 different flavors of chicken in the front end of the amp, right? So it's like, no, this is a Vox tone circuit. No, this is a Fender style tone circuit. No, this is a Marshall style. So when I switch between these, I'm really not going Fender, Marshall, Vox. I'm just changing the way where the tone stack gets laid in the circuit, which really, you're still dealing with a guitar signal that's been amplified by 12AX7 that's now having signal removed from it through a tone circuit, right? Where that happens in the preamp section matters compared to what happens on the back end. So multi-channel amps, right? One of the things that we have to do to get a multi-channel amp to be a multi-channel amp is we use something called a reed switch relay, which is this itty bitty teeny tiny box. Like, it is, that big, maybe that big, right? Where it's maybe 1.5 inches by half inch at most. And inside that box are a couple of transformers that are connected electrically. So, and a piece of wire that lays on one contact on one side, and then when we energize the transformer on the other side, it moves the wire over to the other side because this is no longer sticking down here. The magnetism of the transformer has pulled it to the other side. It's a cat hair. So when you go out and you spend $300 on, super fancy guitar cables and another $150 on a speaker cable, another $100 on the thickest power cable that you can get to the back of your amplifier, just remember, if you're using a channel switcher, you've got a cat whisker that's like directing your tone with all those reed switch relays. And
in a way, it's almost choking your chicken.
It's choking your chicken. Wow, I wish I said that. Dude, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. Multi-channel amps are just choking your chicken.
You could use it.
You've heard what I said about modelers, though, right?
I have. Let me hear it.
Digital modelers are the internet porn of guitar amplifiers because you can have any flavor you want. You just can't touch it.
Oh, there's going to be some people that won't like that.
Yeah, I know. But,
right.
Kemper and Fractal, and they have their spot. I would use them in certain situations personally.
Sure.
One of the reasons why we're developing Kemper profiles for all the Morgan stuff, even the obscure, one-off weird, like a 3800. I don't know that you could find a 3800 out in the wild, but you'll be able to you could get download the Kemper profile for it. It's that kind of stuff. The PX50. How many PX50s are out there? 6, maybe 7, 10. So, which is my Dumble modified JMP Marshall. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
Yeah. What's your favorite amp out of your? This is going to be a hard one because these are all your kids. Out of all the amps that you've built, let me pick a part of this. What was your favorite building process? Maybe not necessarily your end result, but is there one that you found to be like an enjoyable building process?
Yeah. They're all like birthing babies at a certain point, but I think if you go way, way back the beginning, and this is 90s, I'd bought a kit for an 18-watt Marshall. My plan was to build this kit over the course of a month or two while my wife was working on the weekends because I had nothing to do. And, it's like 4 hours later I was done. And, right, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty simple, right? But so then after that, it was, I think the first time that I found like blank chassis at a spot online and ordered the chassis, and I found some transformers on eBay, and I think these could work, and I bought the transformers, and then I learned how to like make a circuit board out of Garolite, which is like this phenolic resin like material that they make into like square shapes that you can cut and drill out and stake and like do all the stuff. The first time I ever built an amp that was my idea, from like literally, I had to drill all the holes in the chassis. I had to like find and source the transformers. I had to figure out the layout of the schematic. When doing all that kind of stuff and turning it on and it worked.
Yeah.
You
felt like you were a god for a moment. I did it.
Yeah, there's something about creating something from absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And going like, okay, this is cool.
Well, for sure.
Yeah. And then it was I have an idea on the aesthetic. And then refining the aesthetic and like, okay, this is it. And then at the beginning I had a guy ask me if I was open to, changing the aesthetics a bit. And I'm like, sure. And I was thinking he wanted a different color. So he sent me these mock-ups of like my amp in like these really, really horrible, like change my logo, change like everything. I just said no. You know, and I had a lot of people at the beginning ask me to move the logo to the middle. And I'm like, no. It's over there for a reason.
Yeah, you had your own thing.
It is, when you see that light on the left side of the stage, even from the back of the arena, he's playing a Morgan. Right? You don't need to see the M. You just know that if it's on the left side of the head, it's my deal.
Right. Now there's something cool about it for sure. And
Yeah.
did you come up with that, what do you call it? Your Tolex, your Twilight Tolex?
Have you heard the story?
I don't know that story.
All right.
It's fantastic looking. It's incredibly unique, and it's cool feeling. Everything about it's cool. I don't know anything about it.
So back in the day, I had a architect in Atlanta that I'd never met before. He sent me some of this material, and he said, "Can you cover my amp in it?"
Mm.
And the material is weird, and it doesn't have a backing. And I'm like, I'm not sure that we can. Let me play with it, see what we can do. Then we found some glue that would work that is now illegal in the state of California. I think California.
What's not illegal in the state of California?
What I know. COVID-19, perfectly legal. Catch it while it's still here. Nice. So we figured it out, put it on, it looked really good. So then I go, this is really cool. So I contacted the company that sold it to him, and I said, hey, I'd like to buy 40 yards of this color, this color, this color, and this color. And they said, what are you going to use it for? I said, well, I'm a guitar amp manufacturer. I'm going to use it for manufacturing guitar amps. They're like, oh, no. We don't want our product to be used for items for manufacture for resale. I said, well, it's on table runners and placemats and dog food bowls and iPhone covers. What are these companies doing? And they said, well, we sell them licenses. Well, how much is a license? We wouldn't be interested in selling you a license.
Okay.
Like, wow. So then I called their local distributor, and I said, hey, and it's wall covering for like fancy hotels, industrial stuff. So I said, hey, I need to buy, 40 yards of this, and this. And they're like, okay, great. And they took my order, charged my credit card. And I'm actually down in Mexico with my family at the time, taking a vacation. And the next day, I get a return on my credit card and an email back from the distributor saying, this company knows who you are and you've been blacklisted. You can't buy this material. I said, you got to be kidding me. It's fucking wallpaper, right? and it's like $70 a yard without shipping. Right, so it's like ridiculously expensive. Most Tolex is about $8 a yard, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. So I contacted the customer in Atlanta. I said, Ira, how did you? He goes, oh yeah, these people are nuts. I had to fake letterhead as an interior designer, and I just faxed the order. And so I go, hey, would you be willing to do that for me? He's like, sure. So for like 5 years, I was sending literally thousands and thousands of dollars to this guy in Atlanta that I'd never met before in my life. So he would put the orders in with this other company, and they would do what's called a blind bill of lading and ship it to my house in California. And that worked until they caught us. And then they said, hey,
unbelievable.
We know how you're getting the material. You can't have your last order, yada, yada, yada. Like, okay, whatever. And so then I had to drop it because I found the company that was making it for them, and they would be more than happy to make it for me, but I had to buy 1,000 linear yards at a time. Now, 1,000 linear yards I could have done my entire house that I was living in Huntington Beach like 5 times over, like every surface, every wall. It's a lot of freaking material. And so I couldn't commit to that. But then when I went to Boutique Amps and we've ramped up production, we're finally in a spot where we can contact them and go, yeah, we would like to buy this color and this color. And that's how it got there. So And honestly, it costs us the same as Tolex does as far as the raw material, but putting it on the process is so much more labor intensive than running it through a hide glue and slapping it on a cabinet. It takes probably 3 times the work to put it on a cabinet.
Wow.
And that puts into the cost, but it's cool. And it's ballistic nylon. It's tough as nails, and it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen some B stock, or I shouldn't call it B stock because it doesn't get sold. I've seen some cabinets that were rejected where you can see like the glue kind of coming through.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's just what I hear from production is that it's very, very difficult to work with. But I got to say, man, the end product, the end result is just phenomenal. Nobody's amps look like that. That's got style.
Well, it really kind of, I mean, that's who I am. When you think of Joe Morgan, you'd think of nothing but style. Just ask my wife, because I wear the same outfit every day.
This is true.
A Morgan t-shirt and khaki shorts. Although I did wear jeans at NAMM the whole time, so.
All right. So, you are a fan of the James Beard award-winning restaurants.
I am.
You're a food guy.
I am Food in the Beard is my Instagram for all things where I just go and I eat something or cook something that I think is really cool.
Oh, there you go, folks. Follow Joe at Food in the Beard. There you go. Instagram, Food in the Beard.
I generally have food in my beard.
Yeah. All right. And while you're at it, go to Amps Obsessed and follow me. That's a good one. You didn't know about that one? Amps Obsessed. No. All right, folks. Food in the Beard and Amps Obsessed. Go follow. We could use your support. Mine is nothing but amplifier porn.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's all it is. So I wanted to ask you, when this COVID-19 thing wipes out all of the small businesses around the country and we're left with nothing but Taco Bells and KFCs and other big businesses like that, the question I need to ask you is, if you were forced in this scenario, would you prefer to take average Chinese food or average Mexican food?
Chinese is different from Thai.
Mm-hmm.
Average Thai I can't do. Average Chinese, as long as the rice isn't crunchy and the meat isn't going to kill me, sure. But I think
we shouldn't. First of all, let me preface it by saying we shouldn't be thinking of average as in the worst you've ever had. We're just talking average.
I'd rather have average Mexican food.
Okay.
It's hard to screw up beans, rice, and you know what? You could give me ground hamburger, beans and rice, and salsa in one of those freaking Zapata taco shells from Safeway or Kroger, right? And I'd be a happy camper. I would eat that all day long.
I wonder if this is to do with the fact that you're in Tennessee now. But no, it can't be, because you grew up in SoCal, or at least you've lived here for a long time.
Yeah, 35 years in SoCal, but I grew up in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Because for me, this question to me, you're like the second or third person that's answered Mexican, and nobody has answered Thai or Chinese. I think I would go with the average Chinese food. Just because my average, if I think about all the times I had Chinese food, most of the time it's pretty good. I don't think there's any times where I've been like, wow, this is going to kill me. So, all right. I guess I'm alone in this. That's how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, I think you might be. All right. So, yeah, no, you are alone.
All right. So now we go high end. We go James Beard. Right? You get the award winning, or you get the what's the other one? The what's the big fancy award that people get? Michelin stars. Yeah. So you've got a genre of food to choose. You get a Michelin. I'm buying you dinner anywhere you want to go. What's the buy? What do you like?
All right. So on that, wow.
And that doesn't have to be Chinese or Mexican, just in general.
No. So a lot of things come into play because it's like my favorite restaurant in Nashville is a place called Husk. And it's my favorite because their menu changes every day based upon what they get in fresh. It's a James Beard restaurant. And but they have super knowledgeable staff. They have a bar that is second to none. I mean, I'm never going to get a slice of orange in a freaking old fashioned. You know, I'm not going to get soda water in it. I'm not going to get it's going to be. And they'll ask me what kind of whiskey or bourbon would I like in my old. I mean, it's an experience that it's. I don't know that I can get that anywhere else. I've eaten in a lot of really, really nice places in Nashville, but Husk is above and beyond. So I think I would pick a place like Husk where the menu changes daily and it depends on what the chef can get. He's going to make the best possible meal available with what is available to him that particular day. And that's hard to argue with.
What kind of food is it? Is it, I mean, I know it changes, but is it like an American style, French style,
It, predominantly, Nouveau American. So they're going to do things like they work with all of their stuff is locally sourced. So, the greenhouses that are organic that are around them, one of the farms where they get most of their meat, we actually started buying meat from them. We got our Thanksgiving turkey. The only reason I know about Husk is my wife is amazing, and she is trying to keep me alive for as long as she possibly can, and I war her on that and fight against it daily. But so for Thanksgiving, she wanted to get an organic, raised, grass-fed turkey, and there's this place called what is the name of it? Something Farms. It'll come to me in a minute. So anyway, but they also supply all of the poultry for Husk. And so he was doing turkey drop-offs for Husk. And he said, "Oh, I'm super busy. Can your husband meet me there?" And now this was like $140 turkey that we bought for 20-pound turkey for $140. So I'm like, sure. And I went there. They sat at the bar, knowledgeable bartenders, and they had a hamburger on their menu. And I've often talked and compared about with my amplifiers, you can buy a hamburger at McDonald's or James Beard awarded restaurant. I've never had a hamburger at a James Beard awarded restaurant, so I figured I'm going to have a hamburger. And I shit you not, it's the greatest thing I've ever eaten in my life. There was nothing fancy about it. It was a bun and meat and cheese and ketchup and mustard, and it should not have been what it was in my mouth.
Sure. It's the sum of those parts. It must have been all good quality.
Top, the best you can get. And I really feel like that's the way I'm trying to build amplifiers. But anyway, went there, had that, couple old fashions, and bought my Thanksgiving bird. And we've probably been back now a dozen times just because, it's the food there is just on another level. It's just, I don't know, hard to explain.
No, it's all good. It sounds phenomenal. So,
it is.
Speaking of burgers, and the burger comparison, you've recently supersized your MVP 23.
MVP 66, baby.
I for one am looking forward to production on that. That is going to be one that ends up behind me here with my Friedman and the Tone King that's back here. The MVP 66 sounds freaking great. It's so good.
Yeah, that was a fun amp. I'm really looking forward to it. It's so funny because, the way this works is I have to start thinking about next NAMM.
Yeah.
Right. And so before that happens, I mean, we put the orders in for chassis and the orders in for boards for the 5-water. So we're going to see that. I thought before all this happened, we'd see it before June because I really wanted to have it for Sweetwater. But I don't know that that's going to happen now. We'll have to see. But that'll happen this summer, and we'll make an announcement on that when it's ready to ship and like all that kind of stuff. And I'm super excited about that. And then for this next NAMM, I'm going to do. I've had a lot of requests for the GOAT, which is the Josh Smith 40 water, and that's what I'm doing now during my days. Is I'm working on the circuit boards for that and trying to figure out how to actually make it work. But Josh has always wanted the 3-knob reverb in his JS40 that I built for him years and years and years ago, and there's probably 6 of those in the world. To have a switchable, that 3-knob to be switchable for the front end of the amp,
sure,
and for the circuit. So if somebody wants to run it in front like an original, like you would run a tube reverb into the front end of an old Fender amp, you'll be able to do that. Or if you want it in a circuit like you would like a super reverb or a twin, you could do that too.
Right.
So that's going to be that amp. I'm super excited about that. Looking forward to that.
That sounds cool.
And then
we're getting sneak peeks here.
And then I built an amp for one of the Fender Custom Shop master builders. Yeah. He sent me his Blues Junior, and we were talking, and I asked him what he wanted, because what I really want is like, I don't like a lot of knobs, but I want, it's got to sound really good. I mean, he's building, he's a master builder in Fender's Custom Shop, so he's building, $8,000 to $10,000 guitars that are going mostly to people who are well off or artists, and so when they come and demo stuff, they're going to play through his amp. So I'm like, okay, this has got to sound good. So I've been working on it a bit, and I came up with a circuit that I really like that uses 2 EL84s, 3 12AX7s. It's got reverb, but it's simple. Volume, tone, reverb, and then dwell, just because I can put that on. I like dwell. And I'm trying to, right now, I'm massaging it into a combo. And I think I might make it combo only, but I want to keep the price under $1,500, and I'm trying to get it as close to $1,200 as I can. So it might be a circuit board driven amp if I can do it without compromising anything. And so what I really want is I want high school kids to be able to reach up and save money and be able to buy something like that and not have to compromise with the Blues Juniors and the Hot Rod Deluxes and DeVilles that they're buying currently that are just subpar. I mean, they're just not good amps.
I think, and I'm not the builder here, but I think from all of the amps that I've ever played and heard, if you're using the right components and you know how to bake that product, using a PCB versus going just purely point to point, I don't think you're really losing that much. Nope. And how the hell is anybody supposed to know unless you're doing a direct comparison of all of the exact same components baked the same way, one on a what do you call a turret board and one on a PC board? I just don't think it's a practical thing to worry about. If you can make it cheaper and you can make it with the Joe Morgan quality that exists, it's going to kill. It's going to be great.
And that's what I'm shooting for. Make something that is super simple and something that everybody can use it. And at 20 watts, it'll be loud, but it doesn't have to be. You can control that with the volume. I'm not going to put scaling in it because scaling kind of screws up with reverb. And it'll be cool. It'll be really cool. We'll have to see where it falls out price-wise. But I have the transformers. I have the chassis design done. I just need to finish the circuit board part of it, and then I'll be able to kind of suss it out where I'm price-wise and see if it's even viable.
Yeah, man. I think you're onto something here. That's going to be cool. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the MVP 66 to jump back to that. We're expecting you to release that. It was already shown at NAMM. Are we expecting production kind of near summer?
No, production was expected to be now. I don't. We were just waiting for we have all the chassis. We have all the head shells, combo shells. The only thing we were waiting on is transformers, and I don't know. because they're coming out of Chicago. I don't know where we're at. I mean, the one really, really cool thing about Morgan is I'm not sourcing parts out of China, so I'm not worried about delays and that kind of thing when it comes to Chinese parts. We're building, we're building amps one at a time in Huntington Park, California, by people that take pride in their work, and that's something that people really need to understand. I mean, and we're sourcing everything we can from the U.S. I mean, some of our manufacturers might be of Chinese origin, but through U.S. distributors that are stockpiling for us, so we don't have to worry about whether or not a silver mica cap's going to be in stock, because we're buying thousands and thousands at a time. So we're not going to hit those kind of production delays, unlike some companies that are having all their processes, all of their boards and stuff being manufactured in China, throwing it into a cabinet made in the USA and called it built in the USA, which is bullshit. I'm not going to name names, super. But
did you sneeze? What was that?
Gesundheit.
Yeah, oy vey. No,
There's a lawsuit happening right there. I don't know what I did.
Yeah. It's funny the amount of conjecture, I'll say, out there about boutique amps. There are people out there that think boutique amps is a huge corporation, a big evil corporation. They look at it and they're like, I can't believe it. What are these guys? These guys are going to ruin everything they touch. And it's like, I haven't heard anybody say one negative word about the current state of Tone King or the current state of Friedman. And they've been doing Friedman stuff pretty much the entire time Friedman's been doing amps, so with exception to his first couple, brief years. So honestly, people are weird.
There's nothing like boutique amps out there at all, and it's like, if people had an idea of just how insane the process was and how crazy, I mean, we make decisions on the fly. I mean, I still answer every phone call that comes into Morgan, and like today I got a phone call from a customer who bought something used and they got it to him and it wasn't working properly, and he called the line and I answered and he's like, yeah, who am I speaking to? And I said, this is Joe Morgan. He's like, wait, what? But I mean, it's me, dude. It's like there's nobody else here. It's the same thing it's like everybody that works at boutique works at boutique. They're not answering the phones because they're sitting in a phone bank someplace.
Right.
They're answering the phones in between doing all the other shit they've got to get done.
Right.
And it's a family, dude. It's a complete family, and it's masterminded by somebody who's got the resources to put it together and hire a bunch of people and pick the people that are committed to making a quality product.
Sure.
One of my favorite things about Avi, when early on, there was a mistake that was made. He pulled everybody, like all 50 employees together in the middle of the place and got them all in a circle and explained to them. He's like, this affects all of us. We're not making Fords, we're making Ferraris. And if there's something wrong, you guys see something that's out of place or it doesn't look right to you, say something to somebody, because we need everything to be perfect.
Sure.
And who says that?
That's great.
More concerned about it being the best product it possibly can than like, oh, but if we cut corners here, we'll save $1. And that's rare. That's rare to find. And I'll partner up with somebody like that, even if he drives me nuts, for other reasons. But
not saying he does.
Not saying that he does. Not saying that he doesn't. But yeah, no. But I love Avi. I love him like a brother, and one of my brothers I haven't talked to in a few years, so that's kind of sells it in a nutshell.
Sucrets.
Right? Oh yeah, it's one of those whiskeys you can't drink without a chaser.
Dude, I'm chasing it. I have to admit it. Well, this is going on a little bit longer than I normally want to do for this show. I was anticipating this was going to be like a 30-minute program. It's impossible to do this in 30 minutes when I got somebody like you or Ryan Berg or Avi Shabat or any of these great builders. There's just too much to talk about in 30 minutes, especially when we're dissecting such crucial topics as average Chinese food. All right, I'm going to ask you one more question before we get out of here.
All right.
I have a buddy who, when he found out that I was doing this show with you, he goes, ask him a question for me, and I said, okay, cool. So he wants to know, and this comes from my buddy Hugo. He says,
Hugo.
Yeah, man. He says, in all of the years that you've been doing this business, what would you consider your career highlight? And where do you see Morgan Amplifiers in 5 years?
I have two career highlights. One was getting passes and tickets to a Paul McCartney show and sitting close enough where I could see the expressions on the entire band's face, and seeing my stuff on stage with them as they played all the songs from my childhood. That's pretty surreal. That's like that. And then the other one, which is probably supersedes that for me, is I got an email from Mike Landau. And in the email, he was describing himself to me, who he was, because he wanted to get an artist deal on an amp. And Mike's my favorite player of all time. So, So it was one of those things like I'd been going to the Baked Potato for like 15 years watching him play, and I had all of his albums from Burning Water and Raging Honkies, through all this stuff, and knew his complete discography and like, yeah. So to get an email from him where he's explaining who he was to me was like, okay, this is cool. This is like, hey, Mike, I know who you are. Huge fan. Yeah. He's freaking nicest guy. Incredible player, soft-spoken, just a monster. Absolute monster. And then what was the second part of that question? Where do I see myself?
5 years.
Wow.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, 5 years from now, relevant I just want to stay relevant. I just want to be connected with music and what's happening kind of next. And I feel like I've let that slide for a few years, and whatever the state of music is now, and like poo-pooing things like that I didn't understand, maybe a little Post Malone and some of these other things that I'm coming around to now. And I just want to stay out in front of that. I want to know the next Tame Impala. I want to know what just cool music, and musicians doing stuff that's outside of the box, or thinking like just challenging where, what my concept of music is.
Sure.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a simplistic way.
Yeah. There you go, Hugo. There you go. Very good, Joe. Thank you so much for coming onto the old Whiskers and Wires show so I could drink some Smoky Pete and have a conversation with an amp nerd.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to sleep in the other room now, is my guess.
I can only hope so. Have you seen my wife? Hello.
Wow.
She doesn't watch the program. Oh,
she lives the program.
Yeah, she knows my my personality already. Yeah, I don't know. I to be completely honest with you, I don't know how I got a wife in the first place. I am just the worst. I'm a mean human being.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? There's a seat for every ass. And with that, I bid you adieu.
Thank you, sir. It was fun.